Good morning. Welcome to another week of Midweek Mindfreak. This week we have a pretty cool topic that is going to be helping a lot of you guys out there. We're going to be talking about not reversing the downward spiral this week. So let's get ready for the show here.
Chuck and Angela run multiple million-dollar companies. They are members of Riz Media's Billionaire Club, have coached and mentored thousands of agents, and are international speakers. They say by radically changing your mindset, not only can you change your outlook on life, but affect the actual results you obtain. Welcome to Midweek Mindfreak.
Well, good morning. Yes. Reversing the downward spiral. I'm always fascinated by momentum. And momentum, when people think of momentum, first they could maybe think about an object, maybe going down a hill. If you ever look at a rock, or a good analogy is a snowball.
A rock's not a really good one if it's not very round.
It goes down a hill. It's going to pick up momentum. If I threw you down a hill, it would pick up momentum.
I know, but
I'm
not really.
Round.
No, I'm kind of lately.
So I'm thinking the analogy of the thought process. So let's use a snowball for a second. You let it go down the hill, and it starts to pick up speed and size, and until it's a force to be reckoned with. Something that might not be easily be controlled. Well, that's momentum, and momentum comes in a lot of different ways. You're looking at me like I'm nuts.
No, I was just thinking about a cartoon where the snowball gets really, really big and it catches people in it.
Oh, yeah, the legs and tackling.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing.
So these also momentum could be with emotions, thoughts, types of behaviors. And it's something that this negative thing that picks up momentum, and it affects every aspect of your life. And it can become overwhelming to certain people, overwhelming to a degree that, quite honestly, it's why some people commit suicide. They feel like they can't get out of whatever this is that's spiraling out of control. And we're going to talk about that today. How do you, first of all, recognize it and then reverse it? Because that's a big deal. And I'm going to tell you, this is something that could affect anybody at any time. And you don't even realize that it's affecting you.
And it doesn't have to be a point that you're suicidal. I mean, it happens to all of us in different varying degrees.
Yeah, well, it actually happened to me before I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And my personality is, I'm kind of a loner. And
kind of, you're definitely a loner.
I got you now.
But I'm you. We're alone together.
We're alone together. This is a good thing. We're actually a little sidetracked. We're going, and actually you can fit into the topic today. We're used to being with each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not like out of the ordinary.
Not an adjustment.
It's not an adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually almost even more of a blessing. So we were actually talking just last night, relationships that, are good relationships. We're not talking about bad relationships, but it's an adjustment for them to be around each other all the time. And
that can spiral.
That could spiral, and that's why we're going to talk about these things. But I'm going to go back before I met you. When I first moved out here to Arizona, things started to spiral for me. And I'm not a depressed type of a person. I'm a person, I get it done. I'll find something to do. I'll try to see the positive in everything. But even I got caught up in that through bad relationships, through not making money, being broke. I was living with my parents, and I didn't realize that I was falling into a state of depression. And it was that downward spiral. I should have whispered. And so that started to happen. And what I did was I would just sit at home in my parents' house, in my room, just watching TV all day long. Reruns.
Such a good story.
Was the joke. Yeah, this is, and you don't realize you start to get sucked into this feeling bad for yourself, depressed. Where the joke was when I would go into the office, and it's funny because everybody else could see the depression. I didn't see it. And the joke was, yeah, Chuck, no, Gilligan does not get off the island.
I think that's...
I mean, really process how sad that is. That people around me knew all I did all day long was watching old reruns of TV shows, and the joke was, no, Gilligan does not get off the island. Some people might be going, who the hell is Gilligan?
That's
right?
true. Oh my gosh.
If
you don't know what Gilligan's Island is, put it in the chat. That's nuts.
Let us know who Gilligan is. But anyway, so here is the sad part. The sad part, and I found this out afterwards, that I was in such a state of depression. My dad would come into my room a lot, just like checking up on me. And so years later, when I stepped out and I got to meet this beautiful girl, and I had questioned my dad, why did you always come into my room? I was 30-something years old. And he says, I was afraid you were suicidal. And I go, wow, that's really sad. That's really sad that, number one, that my dad would think that. But number two is that I didn't notice that. No, I was not suicidal, but I was in a state of depression. And it was a downward spiral that was kind of spiraling out of control. And people around sometimes see that. So I think it's really important, especially in this day and age, that me and you are going to talk about how do you notice this, how do you get out of it, and what other people could do to help, because this is a real thing. I just read actually last night how domestic violence is on the rise since people are being, quarantined. And if you really think about that, that's a downward spiral that people are getting caught up in, and it's causing them to have violence and anger and get sucked into this. And it's really sad what's happening. And that is definitely a telltale sign of a downward spiral.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
We talked about that. So if you're out there today and you're one of those people that are feeling like, boy, I've been on edge lately. I've been in this, maybe this is a downward spiral. Here's what I'm going to first say to you. What's going on right now is affecting everyone, not just you. And it's against the norm. It's against the grain. So it's okay to feel antsy. It's okay to be agitated. It's okay. Just don't get sucked into the spiral. So let's recognize it. We're going to talk about today.
How to do that, maybe some tips on how you can recognize it and do something about it.
Yeah, because of the reason why I shared my story is it can happen to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Rich, poor, healthy, not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. It's a mindset. And we're gonna discuss that. So just to let you know, life is always filled with difficulties. Always. It's recognize them. It's how to deal with them. It's being present when that feeling does arise and what to do. So we're going to talk about these negative type of feelings and how do we deal with them?
Right, for sure. I said, I was thinking I've actually prepared in a different way this time than normally prepare because I recognize a couple of things. First of all, before I get into the points, you get to choose what you think. Now, I think that there are some factors that make it harder for some people to choose than others, and I'll go over some of that. But just like you choose what shirt you put on in the morning or what you eat or what you drink, you actually get to choose maybe not exactly what you think, but how you process what you think. So we'll go. We'll go. Yeah. No,
Greg,
I'm not feeling confident, Greg, that you're the only one who knows that says something about the
Gilligan.
group that knows Gilligan's Island. Hey, say hi to Carol.
Oh,
We've known her for a long time. Hi, Carol.
yes.
So you get
People
to
from
choose.
Florida tuning in.
I know, that's cool.
Love that. Very good.
Yeah, big bugs in
Hey,
Florida.
Yes, big bugs.
Yeah. So you get to choose what you think. Like you can choose all these other things that you can choose. However, I started to think about how hard it is sometimes to actually choose how you think. So I've been working on my mindset. I thought about this. I've been working on my mindset for a really long time now. So are there some things that I feel like are easier for me or more natural because of the habitual? Well, there's another reason too. I think that part of my ease with some of my mindset is not only my own practice, but you hear this from us all the time. I have the Lord Jesus Christ as my Savior, which changes me from the inside out. That goes up to my mind as well. So that's a factor for sure. But I put myself in a situation because everybody has spirals, positive ones, because you can spiral up or you can spiral down. And at the moment I realize I have something that I'm spiraling about in my mind. And so I prepared in light of that. What's happening with me with these points with a spiral, and how can I apply it when you're stuck in it or you don't know what to do with it. So anyway, in light of a positive mindset, I thought that this biggest challenge that I'm dealing with right this second. Oh, geez.
No, Adam, Mrs. Howell.
Oh, well, that's a curveball right there. That's a curveball. So the first thing that I want to talk about is let's say I'm doing my morning routine is awesome, by the way. I love my morning routine. So
Of course it is. It's yours.
It's really good. And so I have like some really positive things that I've done over time. I like to exercise. I like to talk to the Lord. I have all of these things that I go into a routine. And a positive morning routine is definitely affecting the way that you think about things. We've talked about that. Being grateful in the morning, concentrating on what you can.
Are you yelling at me?
No, I'm talking.
Oh.
Yes, I am actually with my elbow. Because I can't think when you keep popping that stuff up there. I'm going to do it to you, but I'm going to do that.
Look, this is a downward spiral.
No. So anyway, God, I don't even know what the hell I was talking about. So the morning routine. So I have a really good morning routine. Well, the thing that I'm spiraling about interrupts my morning routine. Not at the moment, but interrupts my morning routine. And I thought, when you're in a spiral, you know what you do sometimes? You think negatively about something. And you think about it negatively so often that you've convinced yourself of the pattern. So, for example, you think that you don't have any money. You don't have any money, and you fail at the things that you're trying to do to make money. And then you convince yourself of all of these reasons why that's happening, and you get into a spiral and you start to believe that. Well, part of the thing is when you're in that spiral is you have to say, what can I do? And this is not easy at all. It's easy when you're happy, but it's not easy when you're in a spiral. You say, I'm in a spiral about this person, right? So what can I do deliberately? It's not going to be successful all the time to choose about something to be appreciative about. I don't care if it's something super, super little. You got to start somewhere to get yourself out of that negative spiral. So my first point is let's say it's a person that spirals you. Maybe I'm talking about myself. I don't know. But maybe it's a person who spirals you. You have to get out of that and start practicing something, even if it's just so small, of appreciating it. And for me, I think what I thought is I need to write it down, because thinking it is not enough. I need to write it down and log it and repeat it and talk about it. And then that could be the little crack that could stop the momentum of a negative spiral. So my first point is you have to choose to find something to appreciate.
The next one we're going to talk about is seeing both sides of a situation, especially, like I said, in light of that we're in a spiral or negative, we tend to focus on just the negative. This takes practice, and it's a mindset that you want to go every type of situation, look at it from a different angle. So here's one of the things I always pray for the Lord to rid me of my pride and ego and patience. I do.
I'm like, no, don't do that again.
So here's the way I look at things. If situations happen out in the world, so let's just say driving, and people cut you off, or they're driving too slow, or whatever it is, instead of reacting, I'm sitting there going, wow, I'm looking at it as a positive thing of God answering my prayers for me to practice patience.
You know what drives him nuts on the road is when somebody's at a green light and they're going to turn left and they don't advance a little bit into the intersection so that when it turns yellow or whatever they can turn, they sit there behind the line. That makes him crazy.
I'm just practicing patience. So I look at situations like that from different ways. Here's another one. We're all right now in some sort of a turmoil, definitely a change. And maybe we're feeling ourselves really stressed out. Maybe it's financially, maybe it's just on edge that we're sitting at home with the kids, whatever it is. And why don't we look at it from a different point of view and go, maybe this is a time I need to take to learn something new. No, not sit in front of Netflix all day long and veg out, which will jack up your mind. Eventually, when you feed crap in, crap comes out, and most of the stuff we're watching is crap. Now, I'm not saying don't watch anything, but I'm just sitting there. People like take pride in binge watching.
Well, think about binge watching. What is that? You don't have to work at that. And we're suggesting that you work at something in your mind.
So take this time to learn something. I don't care what it is. It's really cool. Anybody could jump on YouTube or on the internet and learn stuff. It's one of the things I'm trying to teach one of my sons. I'm like, stop getting lazy-minded, because that will suck you into that spiral and it will exacerbate that momentum. Maybe you have a disagreement with another person. Here's the thing. Stop and go, tell me your point of view. Let me learn your point of view. One of the things I've learned as I've gotten older is my point of view is my point of view, and other people could think differently and be right also.
No.
So, not you. So, look at different situations in different ways instead of just focusing on what you think. And count your blessings in everything instead of focusing on the negative.
Yeah, and if you don't have the ability at the moment in a certain situation, or you all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a negative spiral person, that's great. Not that you are, but that you recognize it. And sometimes if you can't see the good in something, or you can't get a different perspective, then cool.
That's my buddy Phil. I work with Ben. I know Phil. Jeez.
That means that's not his real picture now. Hey, Phil. So
don't get distracted.
If you're having a hard time seeing the other side of something, then, and this leads into my next point, you need to have some people that you can trust. I know for a fact that I have people I know personally who are putting on a happy face right now. They're not, for whatever reason, either they don't trust me, or they don't want to look like they're struggling with anything, or fill in the blank. Who cares what the reason is? I know people out there, they're pretending, even in the midst of this not normal pandemic, people are not taking the opportunity to say, okay, this is what's going on. What do I do with it? Or, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Am I off track? Do I need an adjustment, or is that just what's going on? And so my next point is, you don't try to get rid of your negative feelings. Feelings are a gift from God. Now, I think that there are some feelings that we need to get a hold of and change really quickly. Victim mentality, we talk about that all the time. Feeling oh so sorry for yourself on a consistent basis. But negative feelings are just as important as the positive feelings. It's something that God gave us, and we need to not pretend like we don't ever have any, right? So one of the things that I learned over time with him, and it's his fault, is that I can tell him anything. I can tell him my deepest, darkest, like, wow, this is how I feel about Some of them are ugly. But I can tell him how I'm feeling negative about a situation, somebody, my little spiral thing, like truly how I'm feeling, even if it's like, ugh, like you wish you didn't think that way, or you wish that you didn't feel that way, but you've got to get it out and then deal with it in a positive way. So negative feelings in and of themselves, if unexpressed, if not dealt with, add to the spiral. It just, because then what are you doing? You're just moving it around and around all by yourself in your head, and that's not good news. So recognize your negative feelings, find somebody that you can voice those negative feelings to. I am blessed to have several people that I can be brutally honest about stuff with, and then let them go, you know what, that really is that hard. Let's figure out how to deal with it. Or you need a mental adjustment because you're really on the wrong path here. So that's number two. Don't negate that negative feelings are there.
Number two.
My number two.
Number two.
It's the general
There's no
public's
numbers.
number
We're
3.
just talking.
Oh, sorry, I had a number by mine.
Just to quickly touch on that is we get into our own spirals because we think about situations like Angela was saying. Good relationships is about communication.
Absolutely.
And communication does not mean it's always good, meaning they're tough conversations. Guys, if you can't have tough conversations with your close people, I've learned to go, man, if someone could bring me those type of conversations or talk about those type of things, or you talk about building trust.
Absolutely.
Because if they could talk about that, they could talk about anything. So if you're in that downward spiral about someone because you think they think a certain way or act a certain way, maybe they do, and you don't bring it to them, you're harming yourself. The next one is thinking small. Now, here's what I mean by thinking small. Sometimes we overwhelm ourselves by looking at the bigger picture, by looking at all the things we have to get done, by looking at all the situations we have to tackle. And what it does is it paralyzes you and brings you into that spiral. You know, even from a work standpoint, I know I get that way. When I have a huge workload, I don't get anything done because I get overwhelmed. And it's that stupid quote about how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I'm never going to eat an elephant.
Look, this is what I want you to practice and make this fun and challenging. If you feel like you're in a downward spiral right now and you're feeling depressed and negative, I'm going to give you a tip that will help you get out of it almost immediately. And it's based off of your reticular activator. Now, that is something in your brain that is it's like a defense mechanism, but it helps you focus on things you consciously focus on. So if you focus on negative things and the big things, that reticular activator will overwhelm you because it makes your mind focus on that. Mm-hmm. So here's my challenge to you. Look for the little things in life. So I'm gonna give you some of them. Watch when other people, like if you're out and about holding door for someone, just watch. I'm not saying you have to do it. Watch people like that. Watch people that smile at each other, say hello to each other.
Put their carts away.
Open the car door. Put the carts away. Oh gosh, you're gonna bring me down that one.
Oh my gosh,
I went to the damn friggin' grocery store yesterday.
It's actually a nice grocery store.
Yeah, and there's a cart in the middle of the parking space next to us with their stupid gloves in it. I would feel sorry for that person if I watched them do it. I would. I'd have been in a downward spiral. Anyway, get off of that side note. Look for the little things. Watch the way people interact with each other. When you get back out in the world and the restaurants are open, watch the way waiters and waitresses interact. Not just with you, but with other customers. Because some of them are really good.
And like Abdul at Firebirds.
Yes. When you start to focus on these things, the little things in life, the nice things, your mind starts to become in tune with it. And I notice I do that. Like, I'm very in tune with watching couples holding hands loving on each other nicely when they're out and about. You know what else that I'm really in tune with that I actually love? When I watch people pray in public or pray before they eat in public. When you start to focus on things, you will start to notice more and more of those little kind things in this world. So instead of looking at this world as this, oh, this is a crappy world, I'm in this downward spiral, you're training your mind to focus on those things. And when you focus on things, that's who you become. I love this because, look, listen to this. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellent, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things.
That's right.
That's from the book of Philippians. Basically, it's telling you to start focusing your mind on the little things in this world. Guys, now is the time to start doing that. Practicing that, because there is a thing in your mind called the reticular activator. It gets activated by what you focus on. Now, if you're in that downward spiral, you're focusing on every little negative thing. And then you start to go, it's the same way as folks are positive. When you focus on the little negative things, it seems like the world is just doom and gloom. That's my challenge to you. I love challenging my mind to do that when I'm out and about. I purposely look for those little things of how people help each other. Because when you focus on that, you'll see all the positive things in this world.
And even a little extra step is when you're like, what's thrilling me right now in the midst of this not normal situation is when we take our date walks every day. People are like, hi, some people, not everybody. Some people pretend like nobody's on the street, but, saying hi, saying good morning. I know, right? It's weird. By the way, why do people wear a mask when they're by themselves in the car?
So they don't get themselves sick.
Okay.
Is this like a trivia question?
I don't really get that, but that's my biggest problem. I'm good.
Anyway, I want to finish up with
I have one more thing.
I know I want to finish up my topic.
Oh, here you go.
Here's what I'm going to here's what Scripture says. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformed, as what our Creator tells us.
Yes, and transformed implies that it's at a state that needs to change. And my last point is to be transformed means here you are before, and you need to change into something else. You can't control fully the thoughts that pop in your mind. That's just, we're sinful. We have that. It's just part, unfortunately, of our nature right now. So, but you can take those thoughts captive. It's like a runaway horse. A spiral is like a runaway horse. Take the reins. Like,
usually they say a runaway train. A runaway horse?
You can't. What are you going to do with a runaway train, though? With the horse, you can take the reins and you can be like, whoa! Because I've done that so many times in my life on a horse, right?
Be like Superman and stop the train.
Okay, that's you. I'm on a horse, it's running away. So you go, I just recognized that I thought this really negative thing. I need to recognize it. So be transformed means you need to work at where you are today or what's dropping in your mind and turn it into transform. I'm thinking of Transformers. More than meets the eye.
How the hell do you know that song?
I don't know. My kids, I guess. So anyway, but the last thought is don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up that, oh my God, my sister just said I look just like my mother. Oh, that's my sister and Bill. Man.
All right, don't get distracted.
God, I just look like my mother. So anyway, how do I get you off? Help. Go away, sister. So don't beat yourself up that they're coming in there, but you need to practice recognizing it and then use that opportunity to transform it into something different. It's a process, you guys, and every single person, no matter who you are, has areas of their life where they're spiraling at times. So you're not alone. Just keep practicing, keep putting into place the things that we've discussed today so you can get out of that spiral.
Here's what I'm going to leave it off with, guys. Momentum, we were just talking about, yes, could have that negative. But the good news is momentum could be positive. That you could turn your life around and have a momentum of gratitude,
Yeah.
of excelling. And yes, it does take work.
I had that for you.
And here's my challenge to you. If you know someone that is going down that negative spiral, be there for them. Have conversations with them. Be on the lookout for that. And I do believe, I know the extreme to it is people are in such a state of depression that they are committing suicide. Suicide is on the rise. And we can't look at someone and go, yeah, that won't happen to that person, or they're not. Look at them. They're so happy when we see them. Or, when you're on Facebook, you think their life is great. Be in tune and watch, because there are signs when people are in that downward spiral, and be there for them, not in a condemning way, but come alongside and help people out.
And if you're in a downward spiral, be brave and tell somebody.
Look, if you have to reach out to us, reach out to us. But here's what I'm going to caution you. I tell it like it is.
I know we do.
Man, it's facts. So anyway, guys, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Practice these things. I can't wait to get back out there and a little bit of the normal. We don't know what that normal is going to be. But,
we love you guys.
Yep, we appreciate you tuning in very much. Share this, like our page, like everything we do, because we're
delightful.
You guys have
Bye,
a
guys.
great
God
day,
bless.
great week. God bless you.